Bobby with Bobby Stamps, and I have another card for you guys today. I made this card back in May for a card swap, and the swaps were supposed to be due on June 1st. And I had mine already done and sent in, and then they decided to wait and back it up to like the 16th or the 19th, I think it was, because so much stuff was on back order. And so they wanted to give people the chance to get supplies and things like that, because it was for, the card swap was for our new annual catalog to get card ideas. So honestly, I kind of forget how I even made this. I wish I would have made my video back then, because there's a lot of little steps to this, but I hope that I can recreate it today for you guys. The washed background is what I'm more concerned about, because sometimes I struggle with my watercoloring and that kind of thing, and I just love how the flower turned out. I will tell you, at the time I made this card, I did not have 3-inker Magenta Madness. So I used Melon Mambo, and then I also used Daffodil Delight ink, and that I'm still going to use the Daffodil Delight ink, but today I am going to use Magenta Madness, and we'll just see what happens. Okay, so I'm just going to lay it over here, and we are just going to jump in, and hopefully I can figure it out. So I have my Magenta Madness base, and this is 4 1/4 by 11, and I just scored it at 5 1/2. I prefer, for this card anyway, I used the glitter paper instead of watercolor paper. And then I also just have a scrap piece of that I'm going to stamp the flower on and do my watercoloring on it when I die cut it out, okay? And then I have a banner that I made with the Lovely Labels banner Pick-a-Punch or something like that's the name of it. It's in the new catalog. So I've already popped that out using that punch. And I just put it in there and did the, one end, and then I knew I kind of wanted it to be almost 4 inches, so I just put it at 4 inches, and then just did the other end, is basically how I came up with that size. And I'm going to use rhinestones to decorate the front. And then what else? I have some Bumblebee cardstock. I have it laying on my big shot behind me, but this is what we're going to cut our leaves out with. And then I have the framelit for the flower that will be die cutting out as well. And I'm using the Celebrate Sunflower stamp set and the dies. And I'm also using white emboss powder and our new Aqua Painters water painters. I think they changed the name of those too, so let me just get those out. These are really nice. I have used them, I think, once before. I love that it has like the wide tip brush here, and then you have a longer brush that's a little bit skinnier, and then this one is a little bit of a wider brush. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I am going to grab a piece of grid paper that I've already used, as you can tell, but I don't throw it away until I have to. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp my images and heat set those, because that will probably take the longest. So I am using Versamark ink for that. And then I'm going to use the white embossing powder. So I want to try to bring in my tray and have it nearby, because I don't like getting all of that embossing powder everywhere. That absolutely drives me nuts. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the smaller image that's in there, and I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off my embossing powder and get my spoon and try to knock off some of that excess embossing powder. So I'm just going to ink that up in Versamark ink, and I'm just going to randomly stamp, and I'm going to turn the stamp because I don't want the images all going in the same direction. And then I'm going to kind of put a few off to the side. We'll put one there. This is the hardest thing, is to make sure you don't touch it where you've stamped. And then I'm going to put one right there. Okay. Picking it up is the hardest, is to make sure you're not picking it up where you stamp. So I'm going to grab it right there, because that looks, let me kind of move this in so you guys can see. And then I'm just going to put my embossing powder. I had to make, I believe it was 20 or 21 of these cards, you guys. So way back in May, I remembered how I did it. And I almost did the video then, and then I was like, no, I'll just wait. I'll do it when it's, because they don't want you to, if you've ever participated in a card swap, they don't want you to reveal the card, do a, you know, post it on any of your social media platforms or Facebook or anything like that until the recipients have all received theirs. And I understand that. Okay, let's grab the heat tool. I'll put the lid on this just so I don't drag my cord in it. And then we're just going to heat set this. And this will dry white because it's the white embossing powder. And then when you do this, you just want to make sure that you've melted all of that embossing powder. Sometimes when you do it, like I'm doing it right here on this white on white, it is kind of hard to see. So you do want to make sure that it is all melted before you stop. So I like to just kind of move it around. And then I'll give it a one over, you know, really quick to make sure before I actually stop embossing it. Because if it hasn't melted and you touch it, you know, moving it around, putting adhesive on the back, the embossing powder is going to come off. That's not going to look so good. I'm just going to rotate it so I can get the rest of them. The heat tool does get very hot, so you do want to keep your fingers back. And it's really easy to see if you have skipped a spot. It'll kind of stand out at you. I love heat embossing. It's one of my favorite techniques to do. And I'm going to try to keep just moving right along because we have the heat tool hot now. And I'm going to move that out of the way. We'll do our big flower. So let's just grab this. Hopefully I did not measure that out. I just kind of eyeballed it. Oh, I better grab a bigger piece. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I just kind of eyeballed it, and it looked like that was going to fit. And I have to make sure I have enough room to have my dies fit around there. Okay, let's ink that up really good. It's a big stamp. And then just ink that down. And pull it straight up. And the same thing, we're just going to put some white embossing powder, making sure that we cover the whole entire flower. We want to shake off the extra. And I just like to go over it a couple of times just to make sure. And see, that's why I use my tray, because that would have ended up on my table. And I would have been filling that for 3 days. Okay, let's do this one. And see, the heat tool is already hot. So it's just melting that super quick now. So it was really easy when I had to do the assembly of 20 of these. I would just had like a little assembly line going through and I'd ink them up like 5 at a time, stamp them, and emboss them. It was a lot of work, and I almost didn't do this design just because of that. There was a lot of, you know, the heat tool embossing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, do I really want to do that? Let me grab my sentiment strip. And this one's regular cardstock, so I want to make sure I don't have my fingerprints on there. We'll ink up the sentiment in Versamark. And then just stamp that right in the center. Peel that back. Now we're done with the Versamark, so we can move it out of our way. I just want to make sure when I pick that up that I don't touch where I just stamped. And this one, we really want to make sure that we get all of that excess powder off there, because we don't, it will really show up on the magenta, like that little bit right there. Now I have a paintbrush that I keep right beside me. So just kind of do one of those, and that'll take care of that. Okay. Now I do have a little pair of, like a little clip thing that I use, but it's on the other side of the room, so I'm not going to get it for little things like this. Oh, there's my tweezers. Save the day. So I like to use something like that so I don't have to worry about burning my fingers. Okay. Just set that off to the side. And we're done with that. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, doesn't really matter if you do your background first or if you do the big flower first, but I'm going to do the background first. These, you can fill them up with water just like the old ones, and I like to use this as a brush. But before I get started, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm going to take a little bit of the Daffodil Delight and put just a drop, and then I like to set the re-inker beside the color because you can get carried away and forget, especially if you have similar colors, which I don't. But if you guys only knew the day I've had today, you would know exactly what I mean. And then I like to, I'm going to try not to get my brush in there, but I want to drip some of that water because I want it watered down, okay? And then I'm going to take some of this water and I'm just going to move it back and forth across the paper. And then I'm going to go in, and I don't want to get all that full strength. So see, that's why I put it on the block. I'm going to move my paper back. Move that out of the way. Hopefully you guys can still see. I'm trying to keep in frame. Let me move these back just a little bit so I don't have to worry about getting it. You can't put too much water on the glimmer paper because it's not watercolor paper. And so we don't want it to warp and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go in now with the yellow, and I'm just creating a nice little wash of a background. Okay. And then I did try to go back over the yellow flowers, and then you can dot up, because the flowers are supposed to be yellow, right? And then you can just dot up any excess, but you can kind of see how that is resisting wherever that has been embossed. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of the magenta, or not magenta, I'm sorry. What is the name of that? Yeah, Magenta Madness. Pick up some of that, and I'm just going to dab the excess off of there and see what I think. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to leave that. I am going to fix right here. I'm kind of not liking that, so I'm just going to fix that right there, okay? I'm just going to put this off to the side, and I will tell you these are not the brushes that I had because I didn't have them from the new catalog. Again, I'm going to put some of this down all over that flower. I think I need a little bit more Daffodil Delight. I just used cheap Walmart painting brushes is what I used. And then I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of water out of this one. Okay, so this one, again, I'm just going to go in. And this is all I did when I made it. I kept trying not to put a lot of water down. And then I just kept going in with the colors, the two colors, until I achieved the color I wanted. And I liked the color of the, and I can see right now that the Magenta Madness is playing different than what my Melon Mambo did. It's kind of like the dominant color it seems to be. Okay, I'm going to try the bigger tip now and see, because I want to get some more yellow in there. But I'm still liking this. I'm still loving the way that this is turning out. Okay, and then a little bit more. And I just kept going in, back and forth, till I got the color I was looking for. Okay. And of course, I just left mine set out in my room to dry. That was a little bit dark, but that's okay. That is okay. I'm going to put a little bit more water down there. Dab my brush a little bit. We just really have to watch our water, how much water we're putting in there. And I'm really kind of liking that color right there. So I think I'm just going to stop right here, you guys. I am going to go in more yellow right for that center, because I did like my center of my flower to be really yellow. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of that dark and put it right there, just in those little dots. Okay. Now, let's kind of clean up a little bit. We'll do some die cutting. I don't want to have to turn the heat tool on, and your paper is going to warp because it's wet. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it off to the side. I'm going to move this out of my way. And I'm going to move these blocks over here so I don't have to worry about getting anything in them. And better move that water. So I'm just going to die cut a few of these out. I honestly cannot remember how many I used, so I think I'm going to do each one of them twice. And then we'll see what we end up with. I do think one of them I used, and I'll see when I get it cut out, I'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so there's one. And this one has the double one. Okay, let's just do it again. We'll just do it as we make it up as we go along. Nobody will know the difference. Now, the only thing we have to do is wait for our cardstock to dry. And I'm not going to ask you guys to sit here and wait 20 minutes with me. So I'm going to pause the video and use my heat tool, and I'll be right back. And then we will die cut out our flower. I just don't want to do it right now because the fiber is still wet. So let me dry this and I'll be right back, you guys. Okay, I have it dry enough. Of course, if I wasn't in a hurry because I was doing a video, I would probably let this dry overnight. And there is a trick to this. I find this, to me, this little swervy thing here is more dominant, and it goes on one of these flowers. I haven't die cut this out in a while, so I have, yep, there we go, right like that. And then everything else will line right up. So that is the one I look for, is this one right here. And then you can just see everything else lines right up perfectly. I don't know if I'm gonna have to use washi tape. I'm gonna be very mad if this thing jumps on me. You know what, I'm gonna grab washi tape. I'm not gonna trust it, because that would be a lot to have to redo, you guys. Okay. Where does the washi tape start? Okay, let me grab it. Oh, no, there, I felt it. Is it ripped? I think I just ripped it. There we go. You guys would just not even begin to understand the day that I've had today. I have had one of those days like Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong has gone wrong. I started out yesterday with such a good focus and got a lot of stuff done. And so today was supposed to be kind of like a work ahead day. And it turned into, oh no, you're behind again. And I hate that feeling. I get stressed. It gives me a headache. I hate it, you guys. I hate feeling like I'm working behind the gun. Okay, isn't that just so darn pretty? I just love how that turned out. Okay, for this one, my card is still a little bit warped, but one step that I almost forgot to do is we put a little bit of splatter. Can you guys see just the tiny bit of splatter? So let me grab my magenta block again and put a little, it's not going to take a lot, not even near that I put on there. And I'm going to put some ink, or I'm sorry, water. That's how I like to do it. And then I draw the ink out into it. Okay. Not sure what I did with my paper towel is. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I think I'm going to try this one. And I'm just going to take and pick up just a little bit. Let's just see. Nope, this one is not going to do a good splatter. Let's see if we do a flicking. Nope. Okay, let's see if I need to grab more. There we go. And see, I want that more muted. I don't want that as dark as what it's coming. Let's try the other one. Let's see if this one. I've never been good at trying to get these to splatter, you guys, without making a mess. When I made these cards, I'm not even going to kid you, I had it on my TV that is above where I stand. I was standing here one day and I was like, what is that up there? I'm just going to clean off that block. I looked up and could not believe my eyes. So you don't need very much. I just was going just for a little bit of splatter, so that's fine. Let me grab my base. Make sure I have my card going in the right direction. Now, I don't like that mark right there too well, so I'm going to make that be the bottom so the flower and the sentiment will kind of hide my mistake. I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal Plus because this cardstock has been through a lot. The heat, the embossing, the water. So let's go ahead and layer that right on the center of the card front. Just going to go all the way around. Okay. And then I'm just going to take and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my sentiment. Probably going to use 3. And I'm going to put that down first, and that will give me kind of a guide on where, how high, come on, the, I can actually put the flower. So I'm just going to bring that up just a little bit. I want just a little bit down here showing. And then I'm also going to load up the back of my sunflower. But hopefully not put 2 dimensionals right beside each other like that. And this is, I'm going to use a lot, you guys, because this is still, the paper's still a little bit, it's still a little bit bowed from the water, the heat, and everything that it's been through. So I want to make sure I get it laying down. But I can tell you, and I'll bring the other card back in here in just a minute so you can see what I'm talking about. But you can absolutely tell a difference between the Magenta Madness and the Melon Mambo, the 2 different inks that I used. So now we need to decide how we're going to put our flower. But before I do that, let's look and see. Probably like this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to flip this over. I want my bumblebee leaves that I used. I'm going to grab just the regular Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to randomly place some of that. And then I'm just going to place some of these back here. And then let's see, I think this is how I did it actually, something like that. And then let's see if we want one more. Oh, that got tangled up. Trying to see if I want one more kind of going in that direction. I say why not. I'm going to try to get just a little bit of adhesive right there. Do something like that. Okay. And then we're just going to place that down centered. And you can put adhesive on the back of the leaves if you want to. I did it on mine. You could use the Stampin' Seal, or you could use Tombow adhesive if you wanted to. And then I'm going to take some rhinestones and just place. I'm going to kind of put one there. And then let's bring one right there. And then I did one right here in this corner. And then let me bring in my other card so I can show you. So this one is the one I used, Daffodil Delight in Melon Mambo. And then this one I used the Magenta Madness, but still used Daffodil Delight. And I was going to use the Crushed Curry for the background because the 2 colors, but I really liked the Daffodil Delight, and I was afraid the Bumblebee would be too mustardy for what I wanted, I guess. So that's why I just stuck with the Daffodil Delight. And you can use as much or as less of each color as you guys want and just make it your own. Thanks so much for stopping by today, guys. Please make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to, you could hit the bell notification so that way you will be notified every time I upload a video, which I upload every Monday and Thursday. Thanks, guys. God bless.